Hi, I'm Nadine Whitehead. Welcome to my life of baking. Today we're in my kitchen where I run my business, County Road Cakes, here in St. Joseph, Missouri. Joining me today is my granddaughter, Brianna. Today we're going to make a blueberry breakfast cake, and it is chock full of blueberries. And I'm so fortunate that I have blueberry bushes right outside my front door, so the blueberries we're using came from picking them last year, and I've had them in the freezer and they're ready to go. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to measure out 2 cups of flour. So I need the flour. And we're going to measure out the flour, and when you do that, you want to scoop it into your cup and then level it off instead of scooping with your cup, because when you scoop with your cup, it can pack way more flour in there than you need, and it can make your recipe not come out the way it's supposed to. I mean, it'll be fine, but a little extra flour might make it a little stiff. Let's see. So we've got 2 cups of flour, and then we're going to put in 1/2 cup of sugar. Thank you. Get that sugar in there. And we have to add to that 2 teaspoons of baking powder, and the baking powder is what gives it the rise when it's baking. Okay, and we're just going to take that and swish it around a little in the bowl so all that gets mixed up together a little bit. All right, and to that we are going to add 1 large egg, and we're going to beat that a little bit before we add it to the bowl. All right, you want to beat that a little bit. And we're also going to add 1/2 cup of milk. So we'll get that poured in there. Perfect. And we're going to add that. All right, and we're going to add 1/4 cup of softened butter. And we've left that out so it'll get nice and soft. And we want to add 1 teaspoon of grated lemon peel. So if you want to grate a little of that on the plate. We're going to mix this together, and it makes a really thick dough. And then we're going to add the blueberries to it by hand. Not down to the white, just the yellow. That's okay. We're going to add that into the mixture. The lemon and the blueberries go really good together. And when you're doing the zest, you only want the yellow part. You don't want to get down into the white, because the white will be a little bitter. So we're going to mix that a little bit more. All right. Looks like it's mixed fairly well. You know, all that good stuff off that beater. And you want that in the sink, please? There we go. And you can see the batter is really thick, and we just have to get a little bit of the flour off the bottom of the bowl, get that mixed in. And we're going to add in the blueberries, and that's 2 cups of blueberries. They're still a little frozen, but they'll add a little bit of liquid. The dough kind of turns a little bit purple when you're mixing them in. And it takes a minute to get them all mixed in. A lot of blueberries, not much dough. Makes a really great breakfast cake. That's looking pretty good. So we're gonna put that in a prepared pan. Let's get some of these out of the way. All right, so we're gonna put that in the prepared pan, and we've got it all greased up with a little shortening. There you go. It's nice to have such a good helper. We're gonna spread this out in this pan. And then we're gonna bake this at 350 degrees, and it bakes for about 45 minutes. Maybe 40, just depending on if your oven's set the way it should be. Could be a little less, could be a little bit more. All right. It looks purple, but boy, is it gonna taste good. Before we do put it in the oven though, we're gonna make a crunchy topping that we're gonna put on the top of this before we bake it. So that will be the next thing we do. Okay, now we're going to make the topping for the blueberry breakfast cake. And the first thing we have to do is chop up a 1/4 cup of walnuts, and I've already toasted the walnuts, so that gives them a little extra flavor. And we're gonna use this little chopper thing, get them all under there. Get a few more, because we want them really fine for this topping. So you wanna push hard, harder. Keep going, keep going.
Like that much?
A little more. Perfect. And look at that, they're all chopped up really fine. So we've got the walnuts going in the bowl. Nice little cutting board folds so I can get it all in the bowl. And we're going to add a 1/4 cup of flour. I'm checking my list, make sure I don't get this wrong. A 1/4 cup of flour. Can you measure that like I showed you? Okay, perfect. Perfect. Thank you. And then we're going to add a 1/3 cup of sugar. And I already have some butter sliced up, and it's cold butter, and you want it cold so you can mix it into your topping, and I'll show you how we're gonna do that with our fingers. Yep. And I'm adding a teaspoon of cinnamon, or 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon, I guess that is, and some butter. And we're gonna mix this with our fingers and try to get that all pinched in. We're gonna mix that with our hands and pinch that butter into all the flour and the sugar and the nuts. And we'll know when we do this by hand, it's a lot easier to tell when it's ready to go on top of the coffee cake, the breakfast cake. You want to try it? So you squeeze the butter, all right, and squeeze it into the nuts and the flour and the sugar. And it takes a minute to get it all mixed together, because the butter's really cold, so it doesn't mush too easily, but you don't want it to, otherwise it wouldn't break up and mix in as the way you want it to. All right, we're just about getting there. We've got a little bit left, but you can see how it's getting to be chunky. It'll stick together, but it's all got a little bit of butter mixed into it, and The nuts are mixed in and the flour's mixed in. So we're gonna take this and we're gonna spread it on top of the breakfast cake. If I keep it in the bowl, dump that on there. There you go. And we're gonna just spread this around so there's a little bit everywhere on top of this breakfast cake. Don't really want to mix in the cake with it, just get the toppings spread around. All right, that looks pretty good. And it's ready to go in the oven. And again, that's going in a 350-degree oven, and it'll bake for about 45 minutes. Okay, we have a blueberry breakfast cake that we've made a little bit earlier, so it is ready to frost. Not really frost, we're just gonna put a little drizzle on it. And that drizzle is made up of a half a cup of powdered sugar and 2 tablespoons of milk. So do you wanna pour that into there? And we're gonna stir that up, and it doesn't take too long. It'll be ready to drizzle over the top. It just adds a little sweetness and a little pretty. So we'll get that all stirred up till all the lumps are gone out of that powdered sugar. And again, that was just a half a cup of powdered sugar and 2 tablespoons of milk. And it just makes a real nice little glaze. All right, about there. Make sure we get all that powdered sugar into that. Do you think that looks pretty good?
I think it looks good.
All right, I got the okay to put it on now. So we're gonna just slowly drizzle this over the top of this blueberry breakfast cake. Just make sure a little bit gets everywhere. There we go. Now, doesn't that just look scrumptious? So we'll get a couple plates and a fork and we'll cut it, and we're gonna see how scrumptious that is. All right, we're gonna cut this. It looks so good, I can't wait to get into it. Oh, it's so tender. Let's see if we can get a piece out of there. And look at all the blueberries in that. Doesn't that look good? I bet my grandson would even like a piece of cake. This is my grandson Corbin. And there's a fork for you.
Thank you.
And we're gonna try this and see how good it is. Oh, that looks so good. Look at the blueberries.
That's delicious.
You like that? Okay. Well, thanks for joining me. This has been real fun to make this blueberry breakfast cake, and I hope you guys will all try it. I'm Nadine Whitehead, and this has been My Life of Baking. Hope you'll join me next time. We're gonna make some homemade pretzels.